Okay, I think we're going to go straight in. Good evening, all, and welcome back to another Franchise Wars.
Oh, Monty!
This week, we discuss the Highlander franchise. The wonderful highs of Highlander, and Martin will start us off with Highlander 2 and his thoughts on that. So, yeah. How does everybody feel now they've watched Highlander 2 and 3 again after all these years?
Painful, hurt.
Yeah.
I've not got a problem with the quickening. I think it's great, especially the Renegade version.
So you put yourself through multiple different types of viewing of that movie.
It's weird because the Renegade version is so much different to the one that got released because aliens are all cut out of it. They're back to being immortals again. And the bringing back of Ramirez makes a little bit more sense.
Hang on.
Dorothy clicking her fucking heels together and saying,
right.
"Oh, please, Ramirez, come back." And he comes back.
All right. Before we get to Highlander 2, the shittening, let's just rewind 3 or 4 years, and let's just talk about Highlander. And I think we can all agree, Highlander, although it has its faults, it's very 80s.
It's wonderful.
It is redeemed massively by a number of things. Clancy Brown as Kurgan is just ace. I hate Christopher Lambert in most things, but even he redeems himself with classic lines like right at the end, him saying there can be only one is mwah. And the kick-ass Queen soundtrack is just rocking. So yeah, it's a great 80s film. It's wonderful, isn't it?
It's not only a great 80s film, it also gets better with time as well.
Yeah.
Because it makes you realise that they really struggle to make films as good as this now.
Yeah.
Where there's so many restrictions on what they can do and say, and they've got to be politically correct, and they've got to please everyone. But I think this is one of the films of an era where they could do whatever they fucking wanted, and for once in a blue moon like this, like lightning in a bottle, it fucking works. And as we get older, those flashback scenes and the way it's all edited and put together seems so good comparative to what some of the shit we come out with nowadays. I think it's aged really, really well. It could almost be a film shot now that is set in the 80s. That's how good it is.
Yeah, I think it's a great film.
Upon some of the years, put some modern CGI in there over, like, you know, the quickening where you can see the wires and things, but they cover it up with the lightning bolts. But even that, this first one, the very first film, even with the weak effects at times that it has, still looks better than any of the sequels. Some of the sequels look bloody awful. This was fantastic. I love this that much. They actually went out the other day. I bought the 30th anniversary edition on Blu-ray. I enjoyed it that much. I've just got to have this. It's fantastic.
The popular Blu-ray format. Good for you, man.
Considering you got a director who went straight from Black Pop videos to doing this as his first feature film. The transitions between scenes, I mean, the goldfish bowl and the lake and things like that. There's some fantastic ideas, some lovely transitions.
Things that shouldn't work but do.
Yeah. I mean, even the Scottish Highlands back in time, and it's on a par with stuff of Game of Thrones visually now, and that's how good it looks. And to think this was the mid-80s where there was production values were really shitty, it does look the part and it feels the part, and you can't take that away from this film. It's aging really well.
Yeah, they cast just the right people as well. I mean, you know, not always the biggest names. I mean, Clancy Brown was, you know, okay, he's done like sort of Buckaroo Banzai and things like that at this point, but he was still quite a small actor. But he's appeared in some wonderful films throughout the years. I mean, Shawshank Redemption, said Buckaroo Banzai, voicing Lex Luthor in the Justice League cartoons. Starship Troopers. He's just been a cracking actor, really. He's the Warwick Davis of tall people.
It's not only the casting. It's the way. It's the story. The story's great. the way it's cut and the pacing is it goes from start to finish, and you don't feel like you're dragging your feet, and there's no weak sections in the film. It's just a straightforward
because in
got
the
it.
film, like
Everything's been there for. Yeah.
like you're dragging your feet.
What was that, Ronan? Sorry.
Except. Go
I was just saying that, like, in the later films, they're actually shorter in length. Like the first 3, I think, are about 2 hours, and the last 2 are an hour and a half. But like the last 2 films, even though they're shorter, it does feel like you're dragging your feet and your soul and your willingness to live.
Ebbing away.
They are TV movies, basically. It's a shame. I love the TV show. I think the show itself was a fantastic thing. That was wonderful. I loved that. I thought that showed that there was life in the property still after the first one. When you'd had the second one come, and then the show came before the third. And I thought that was wonderful. It just showed there was life still there.
And what were you saying?
I was just going to say, rewatching it, I didn't remember the first 5 minutes.
No.
With the in like the Madison Square Gardens, isn't it? I think it's set, and and that's the bit I didn't remember. But that's probably the most unforgettable bit of the whole film.
Yeah.
So it's quite a good thing that it's at the start.
Yeah, they're just looking for
except for
something
that.
violent to trigger a bit of PTSD in him.
That's it. Except for that, it was as you say, didn't drag its heels, flowed well, no issues with it.
You know what I really liked about it? As a one-off story, it had got a good story. It starts well, makes sense. You can forgive it. So so that's the plan, that's the prize, and it ends brilliant. All the loose ends tied up, perfect.
Yeah,
a great one-off film.
It was never made with a franchise in mind, was it? It was 1985, and it was a one-off hit and run from Canon Movies. It was never going to be a long-lasting franchise, and because it suddenly had cult status and made a surprising bit of money.
It was home movie, wasn't it? Home video, wasn't it? Where it really, because it even didn't do well in the US, and then it just sold loads on, and it just sold loads on home video. I mean, I've already mentioned it. The soundtrack. I mean, how perfect is the soundtrack? It's irritatingly good. It really is fantastic. You know, when you've got I was trying to work out if Princes of the Universe is my favourite track from it, or if it's probably Give Me the Prize, where the Kurgan sat there and it says, and the man was found headless, and the man had no name, and he just goes, I know his name. And then it kicks in. It's just it's so 80s and just magic. It's absolutely brilliant. Really brilliant.
You can probably see
one of the things on the other movies.
And then, so do we all agree we loved Highlander? Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Martin.
Oh.
What was it like when you went to see Highlander 2, mate?
I went to the cinema to see this back in, what was it, like 91, 92?
91, yeah.
Yeah, I went to see this with my uncle, funnily enough, and Highlander had been one of my favourite films I'd stumbled onto as a kid. It was I hadn't seen it at the cinema. I'd stumbled onto it on home video because really it wasn't promoted very much at all. It was promoted more over here than it was anywhere else, but in America it got nothing. I went to see 2 at the cinema at Quinton, at the cinema at the time, and when I came out of there, they got 2 cardboard cutouts either side, life-size cardboard cutouts, and it's Connor McLeod and Ramirez. And I punched that. Ramirez was on my side, and I punched that picture of Ramirez square in the face and knocked it to the floor. And if Sean Connery had been there at the time, I'd have done the bloody same to him as well, because I was that pissed off at what they'd done with that film. I couldn't believe aliens, fucking aliens. Who the hell came up with that? Zeiss. I hadn't seen this for decades before, and I still remembered the crap that was Zeiss. Michael Ironside, who normally I really like as an actor, I like him in pretty much everything that he does. He has that habit of turning up in these wonderful B-movie roles and just being wonderful. And in this, he's just laughing. He's not even a real physical threat most of the time. He's just maniacal laughter. The 2 flying guys with the goggles and the weird beaky noses and stuff, it's not good. All the stuff that they show, all the back history that they put in there, everything for it, it's just not good. It's painful. It's genuinely a film that you would go in and see that, as I did at the time, and you come out and you're actually hurt by what you've seen. You can't believe that they've thrown away an opportunity. I'll give it to 3. I think 3 is awful as well. I think it's really hit and miss in like its quality. It's one minute you can be looking at something great on the screen, next minute it's something bloody awful, and some of the CGI is just crap. And the director, I think, was just awful. There's lots of things that I dislike about it, but at least it had a better idea for the story. Take it back, pretend that there's another couple of immortals hidden away that you haven't killed, so you haven't actually got the prize yet. So you can sort of refresh it and do it again. When the studio's forcing you, as they did force them to make it, they did want to make a second, but they came up and said, yeah, but it's made so much money, we want a second, make it happen. But that second one, it's a shame because they made it and they went past the budget on it. So instead the accountants came in, took over and just cut the film out of everything they'd already filmed. They got great CGI people, they got great effects people all lined up for it that had started doing work, and they took that work off them and gave it to cheaper people, which is why, once again, in 2, you see such varying of quality between scenes. Some scene can look beautiful, another scene, it's fire in the sky and it's looking bloody awful. It's supposed to be a blue shield, that's how they show it straight away. Where the hell they got the fire in the sky idea from, I do not goddamn know. It's awful. It's freaking awful.
I have to say, I mean, and you all know how much I hated Star Wars Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith. In comparison to Highlander 2, Star Wars Episode 3 is Citizen Kane. I have never seen such an absurd, utter, just dreadful pile of crap in my life. It's
Highlander's there.
Recommendations you need.
I mean, it is way beyond. It's beyond anything. I mean, Sean Connery. I'm reading the backstory of it. It was 6 days' work or something. He got paid $13 million. I mean, talk about phone it in. I hate Christopher Lambert anyway.
He's still charming. Even at his worst, he's still charming. He's still one of the better things in there. And I hated him for drawing me in thinking that it was going to be anywhere near the first one. And it was just nothing. It wasn't even 10% of the first one. I would good things. And Lambert still looks young enough for doing it. Whereas when it hits the third, he looks too old.
I would stand there and listen to Hayden Christensen deliver crap lines from Episode 3 all day long compared to Katana doing his role as the bad guy. I mean, Jesus.
Highlander, the quick thing, it's coarse and grainy and gets everywhere.
It's painful. I mean, it looks terrible. It's edited as badly as me having a laugh about it and doing it on an iPhone for quickness. It is literally one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. And you know, I mean, it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
Oh yeah, it's gibberish.
It's appalling.
I
can parody, but that's insulting to parodies. It really is abysmal. It's a dreadful film.
I could only imagine being dry-fisted by a silverback mountain gorilla more enjoyable than watching this.
Which should be on the film poster. That should be on the film poster at the bottom.
Yeah, the quote. I'd rather be dry-fisted by a silverback than watch this.
I don't know what else to say. It's
painful, mate.
It's the fairy tale Dorothy clicking the slippers. I want Ramirez back feeling as well.
There's no immortal like Ramirez. There's no immortal like Ramirez. There's no immortal like Ramirez.
I mean, I think it was supposed to be a different film. It was supposed to be some other film, other franchise, and then
they just said, should we just stick the Highlander characters in?
What actually happened is, if you read up at it, and I hate to bring the Renegade version up again, but the director wrote and shot a almost completely different movie to what got released. I mean, we know studios take over and things, but The original version, there was no Zeist. They weren't aliens. They were immortals. The what's his name? Michael
No, it was.
Ironside.
That was the director filmed that, but
No,
he had to cut it out for the Renegade version.
No, they didn't cut it out. It was never the intention for them to be aliens. That was in reshoots and shooting it back in. They were immortals, and it was from a very ancient England. It was still shit. I'm not saying it was shit, but it wasn't as bad as it was. They'd got a producer who said, we need to have aliens in this movie to sell tickets. So they just changed them to that there were aliens from other planets. And there is actually
an excuse.
There's 4 different endings to this. And if you have a look online, there's actually one ending where Connor McLeod is floating in the sky like some kind of fucking god. And
it's awful, that ending. And you're like...
and you just go...
What were they where was the quality? Where was the quality control? Where was anybody going? Nah, we'll chop that out. That seriously, it is.
But you laugh. We call it shit, but from a business perspective, they did this as cheap as fucking possible, and it got a load of suckers to go out and watch it and pay for the tickets, and they made their money back. It made more profit than the first film did.
I paid. I went to the cinema and paid to see it, same as Ronan. I'm one of those suckers, because I love that first one so much. It was just such a major drop-off. It was just, how can you throw away a story idea like they came up with, though, for the first... I know that it was done, they said they were making it, and they sort of hit the budget and went over budget, so the accountant stepped in and said, right, we're going to make the film with everything that's shot so far. As I said, they got great people lined up for doing all the special effects and everything, and they took it away from them and gave it to cheaper people just to do it, because it was run by accountants then. I don't know about this with the storyline with them not being aliens. I always assumed that was part of it, but it could easily be if Mark's done more research on it. It was just pain. It was, as Mark says, a studio stepping in, and just whether they did the aliens or not, they just kind of ruined the film. They took the look and the quality away from it. They went to the expense of getting Sean Connery back, of getting Christopher Lambert back, and at times it looks fantastic. Other times it just looks cheap and nasty and horrible. And that dark look of the film seems to have followed it all the way through all the sequels.
Yeah. Doesn't.
Was it the third one? The third one looks like Chinese cinema, not good Chinese cinema, cheap Chinese cinema.
You know, I mean, I know Highlander 2 is bad. I think Highlander 3 was just as bad. You know, the get out of jail card with that one is, we'll say some of them are trapped in a cave. What? That
to me was right.
It's a magic cave, though. It's a magic cave.
It's better than Aliens, but bloody hell, there's reaching. And Mario Van Peebles doing an impression of the Kurgan. Oh, God, it's dreadful. It's dreadful.
They made him a multicultural Kurgan, just doing a Kurgan impersonation.
The deep voice, everything. They reshot the first film.
He's normally quite a charming actor. He'd just done a film with Lambert as well just beforehand, and Lambert enjoyed working with him so much that he suggested using him for that film. But
I'm still confused by this. Was the third one an attempt at erasing the quickening out of canon, or is it meant to be
a direct sequel?
Is it meant to be a prequel to the quickening? Does the quickening still exist?
I think it retcons all of it, doesn't it? Everything gets jettisoned.
Yeah. But it ends, so the quickening can still happen. That's the point I'm making. Does it slot between the two?
Well, it doesn't erase it from history.
There's no complete erasing of it. You know what else I find really funny about this fucking film, right? Is they can't make up what they wanted to call it. That it has many titles.
Highlander 3, yeah.
Highlander 3, the Sorcerer. Highlander 3 the Magician. Highlander 3, the Final Dimension. Highlander, the Final Dimension. Or Highlander 3, the Final Conflict. It's got more fucking titles than any other film I've ever known.
Now,
I wasn't sure I was watching the right film for a while.
It was going to be another film.
No, I wasn't sure I was watching the right film, but looking for it online, like Mark said, different names, you're going, hang on, have I watched that one? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You watch the first minute and go,
I was double checking the years on them just to make sure it was the right order. For all it was work at the end of the day.
Yeah, there was no way I just wanted to make sure, right, hang on. Yeah, Mario Van Peebles, I knew he was in it. That's the one. And I could barely finish the film without retching. So there was no way I was going to go steep further into the nonsense of watching, what is it, The Source and a frigging TV show? No.
Endgame,
3 and out for me.
One of the better ones, really, for that. But The Source was painful as well. But that third one, though, yeah, as you say, to any film where you've got multiple titles, you get worried from the start. I'd never watched, because of coming out, seeing The Quickening, I swore to myself that I would never fall for that crap again. And it's only because of doing this that I've actually gone back and watched the third one now.
The really scary thing is it's so fucking bad that it just shows how good the first movie is, that these piles of fucking monkey spunk shit, bollock, wanking, piss flan, cunting bollocks of films haven't tainted the original.
Sorry,
one.
kids.
They really, really could. And it's hard for me because I can usually find a redeeming feature in some shit, but it's...
you'll spend all sorts of crap.
I struggle to find a redeeming feature here. They
are really bad.
The second one and the third one, the fourth one and the fifth one are all shit, but the second one is potentially the worst attempt at a fucking sequel ever put to screen.
I think it's the worst attempt at a film I've ever seen. Imagine if you'd not seen The Highlander and you didn't know what it was. Just watch it for its merits. It's absolutely dreadful. Like Martin was saying, it's like it was put together by 6 different teams going, oh, we need to do a shield. Oh, yeah, right, then we'll do that. Right, oh, apparently there's a shield on this. Oh, we'll paint it red. Oh, but I thought it was blue. Nobody will know. It is, oh, God.
It's because they went over budget, so it got ran by accountants. To say that it had used the same director as the first film, it's just what happened after in production. And when they were doing the special effects, they just went from having great people lined up to dropping those for the cheaper option. And
the scary thing is,
the worst thing about the second one is it's insulting. It's not even that it's terrible. It's that it's insulting to the first film. It throws away everything great about that first film. It keeps the characters, but it throws away all the great ideas and everything that the writing originally came up with.
Yeah,
I think it wrote it like a student film idea originally.
It takes the piss out of the audience and has no fucking respect for the source material whatsoever.
It's absurd. I mean, reading about it, some of the Ronan's reached for the booze.
Just talking about it, I was like, you know what?
When you read about it, and there's bits you forget, like Ramirez just happens to go, oh, I need money. What's that? And grabs an earring, and it's enough to pay for a suit and a flight to New York. Oh, and he doesn't need a passport or anything like that. He just turned. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'd actually forgotten about that bit, but now you've reminded me.
Oh, goodness me. And he's staring out the window. You know, the guy's meant to be an alien, and he's staring out the window thinking, hang on, what's all these flashing bangs and all this fire in the sky? You're an alien, for God's sake. Oh.
You know what? It reminds me of, I'm a big fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right? And this is the equivalent of Dennis and Mac making a sequel to Highlander when they make their fucking movies. Because it's about as good as that, and they probably have done a better job. It's just, it's not even a fan fiction quality.
Most and Jack Black Be Kind rewind when they make the Swede films. Just their cheaply made versions. But it's like, for me, the second one, it's not the quality of the film made. That's dropped in everything in all places. I can kind of forgive some of that, really. It's the fact that they threw away all the ideas and all the quality out of the first one. They threw it away as if it was nothing. and just relied on people being suckers. And me and Ronan were a couple of those suckers.
Well, a mark of a good sequel is for it to be able to stand on its own 2 feet and have a story of its own merits for you to be able to watch on its own. But if you take the story idea and everything out of this, remove it from the Highlander franchise and call it something else, it's still fucking shit.
Yeah, we've had certain franchises.
It was no bad movie. They didn't have to call it Highlander. And I mean, I think it's some of the stuff that I've seen at my bad movie nights. You know, I think of the likes of the Diana clone. And I mean, you couldn't make a sequel to that. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's the worst movie ever made. Even with like my bad movie aficionado chums and our bad movie night, like it is the worst. It's set an absolute benchmark for the lowest of the low. It's absolutely booze. And, you know, that works as a standalone, and a lot of other bad movies of that caliber that we watch, they're standalone bad movies, and I don't see why Highlander 2 couldn't have been a standalone bad movie. I think it should have been. I think when the accountants got involved, and at some point somebody had to have realized, actually, this is shit. I don't know why they couldn't have said, let's take the Highlander name off it and call it something else. That is a thing they could have done. It would have been easy enough to rebrand it when they realized that. I guess they'd already paid for Sean Connery at that stage, so... Yeah.
I mean, fair play to him. He took take your money and run, but Jesus.
Absolutely.
It's asylum quality, and if it was nowadays, it would have been called Skylander, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. It's just that. Yeah. That's exactly how it would have been made.
If I had the time, I would do that and re-edit it. Any mention of Highlander, I would like put a sk at the start. And
it's appalling.
I'd probably rejig the credits to say a Dennis and Mac film. I think he could have a lot of fun. You know what? That's what they should do. You know, when Jay-Z brought out an a cappella version of his Black album for people to just play around with and remix themselves. They should do that with Highlander 2.
Do a version of it that we can all mix and make our own film. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one other franchise that's on a par with this where things get really bad really quickly, and that's Jaws, because Jaws didn't need sequels. Highlander didn't need.
At least the second one was decent in Jaws.
Yeah,
well, it was passable, but this is Jaws for standard, isn't it? I mean, Highlander 2 is appalling. But I got to be honest,
the Mario Beebles film as well.
I got to be honest, I absolutely hated the third one as well. I mean, really, really hated the third one. I thought it was lazy, unnecessary. I hated Mario Van Peebles, his feeble attempt at that. It was such a weak thing. The fact that it retconned all the alien stuff actually made it worse for me. It's just awful. It's just horrendous. Not as bad as the second one, which is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. One of the worst things I've ever seen put to print.
It just shows how good of an ending the first one was, because they really fucking struggled to come up with ways to bring them back. I mean, having three immortals buried in rocks. If you're the last fucking immortal, you'll know. If you're the last fucking immortal, if you go by the first movie, you know there's some blokes buried in the rocks. Especially if you happen to bump into them in the 17th century beforehand. It's just fucking stupid. Yeah. It's the old concept. They just don't know where to go.
It's kind of one of the few saving graces of 3 is they do try. And okay, it's basically a remake of 1, just made with worse actors, worse director, worse music, worse filming, worse setting, worse. It's just worse. You know, it's one if it was crap. If one was really bad. I mean, you watch where they try and put it. Their romance story could have been better than the first one. Really, the idea was probably better, but it was awful, and a lot of it down to the acting that was like done between them. It's a shame.
Yeah. It was shambolic.
As you go through them, it's almost like the Queen soundtrack is played by it's like a copy, isn't it? It's not the actual Queen doing it.
That's exactly
It's like a covers band that they've got into to almost do it. Yeah.
Like a school orchestra playing Who Wants to Live Forever. They won't know. It'll be all right. We'll just turn it down a bit. Turn it down a bit.
Send somebody down the local pub with a tape recorder, and it's like, just see what you can get when they do a Queen cover.
Now, Anton Ronan, you watched Endgame, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's where things get even more confusing for me, because I can't work out whether Connor is meant to be the chosen one or not then, because Duncan chops his head off so he can have Connor's power to take on the bad guy. So where the fuck does that come into everything?
Well, that's sort of following the TV show, really, isn't it? It's extending. Maybe you could mix in the idea, because they had their
there's as well, there's an interesting, almost like a top trumps scoring system. So they have this thing where the immortals have killed X amount of immortals, and it turns out that they've done about 300 each, and the bad guy has done 600. Yeah. So it's almost as though he needs to gain the power from him to get to 600 to be able to defeat the bad guy. So it does get very tenuous, and there's sort of links which you start thinking it's almost like one-upmanship all the way through.
It's I'll play my Galactus and Silver Surfer card.
You've reminded me of another dreadful bit, which was meant to be quite funny, and another bit that I hated. People quite like the scene in Highlander 2 where Ramirez and McLeod are driving into that, you know, when they get gunned down. It's like, and then
that's the one bit I really remember, the hail of bullets.
They're in the mortuary, and then they count how many each other, 112, 115.
I'll just stop you there. You said people quite like that scene. Which fucking people are these?
Exactly. People need that as a highlight. You sort of go, oh yeah, well yeah, they can't die, so yeah, all right. And then it's the bit where they get up in the mortuary and they go 112, 115 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's, oh God.
I just love the way that Ramirez flies from Scotland to New York without a fucking passport.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
Just jump on a plane.
And Katana just turns up. All right, how you doing?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And
well,
you know,
the border patrol people at New York, various New York airports, several times over the years.
And well,
you can't get away with that now.
And again, I watched some YouTube videos on this, and people were saying, well, you know, he doesn't need a passport. He's an alien. What? What did you transport there then? Oh,
here's the funny thing: when you're going through border patrol, they regard everybody as an alien. So and they still require a passport. So. And not only that, they would have wanted something that demonstrates a link to his home country. So they'd want some kind of demonstration to Scotland or Spain or wherever he decided he was from, to show that he had ties there, so that he wasn't staying. So I don't know how he figured that out.
Yeah. Can you imagine the actually putting the film together, and someone says, we need to bring Ramirez back. Okay, let's have it so McLeod wishes for him to come back. Yeah, and he comes back, but let's have him come back in Scotland. What? just why? Yeah. If you're going to wish him back, what's the point?
He might have been seeing family. Sean Connery was that sort of couldn't give a shit about it. Might have gone, oh well, I'll turn up there and I'll see some family, and then I'll fly to Argentina and join the rest of the production. It is probably that.
Connery all that.
Their idea is that he died in Scotland, so he reappeared there. But really, you know, it's Sean Connery just putting in his contract. If I'm going to do this film, I want a return trip to Scotland on you for a few days, just to have it. Yeah. And you show me face, see me mates, all that. Then I'll be back off again. I'll do what you.
I struggle with.
Did it because was it Connor, the French guy, he was like insistent. They got on so well.
Yeah, Christopher Lambert.
Sean Connery do it as well.
I struggle with which is the worst film that I've ever seen between this. Revenge of the Sith is bad, but this is way beyond. Superman 4 is right up there with absurd, utter tosh.
No, this is worse than Superman 4.
Yeah, I think you're right. This really is that bad.
Beats and big nails on it, big fingernails on it.
Yeah, Nuclear Man.
don't get me wrong, Superman story is shit, but at least there is a standalone story and a plot from beginning to end. Executed badly, yes, but at least it makes sense. The quickening does not make sense.
Yeah, like when I'm ranking bad movies for You Stand Accused, I do take coherency into it, and a lot of films, the only thing that saved them from getting rated as 5 poos is the fact that they had a coherent plot, and I don't think that Highlander 2 would have made the cut there.
Oh,
I
God,
think it would have been poos.
Right, you've all watched it over the past 2 days. If I say to you,
I think it would have got 5 poos.
If I say to you,
what outside on the pavement.
What is the quickening about? What is your response?
I have no idea. I don't know what the quickening's about. I couldn't tell you. I've watched it again, and it's dreadful. I don't know. I don't know what it's about.
That's just it.
No.
Are we on about 2 now?
Yeah, we're still on about 2.
One of the worst things we do is
asked that, but does it matter?
If Michael Ironside had waited like a couple of weeks, Connor would have been dead. He was just dying of old age. He would have been dead. But instead, just because he sent the aliens, accidentally kills them, he heads the 2 of them like straight away. And suddenly he's powered up and he calls back Ramirez and it all starts. 2 is just a desperate reaching attempt. We've got to make a sequel. We've got to get some more cash out of this. What the hell can we do? Anything. And it's an anything film. It's insulting, it's painful, it's awful.
And on that, we will come back shortly. We will have a brief interval and we will decide to rank these. I wonder what we're going to do with the order of these. We'll be back shortly. So we are back. So, right, well, I'll level with you. I was never going to watch 4 or 5 in a TV show of this pile of shit. There's no way. I couldn't do it to myself.
But the TV show's great.
I'm
actually going and re-watching the TV show now. I started on...
Hold on, Mark. I would just say, the TV show is on Tubi, which is the app and website I go to for really bad movies and TV shows. So, it can't be that good.
That's what's kind of fun about it, though. It's
dear, man.
a bit cheap and everything, but it just works for me.
You know what I hated about the third one as well?
Adrian Paul as Duncan MacLeod a lot. I think the ideas they introduced into there, it was the truest sequel. It was a better idea. It was, what if Connor hadn't won the prize, or it was before Connor had won the prize? And then, because the idea, you could go throughout centuries.
The Bachelorette is now on Tubi, so saying a TV series is on Tubi is not. It's not an endorsement.
We've got it on Amazon over here. I've clicked up what I've done all the series so I can do a rewatch right through from the beginning.
Just going back to Highlander 3, I remembered another bit that I hated. So, you know, at the end of Highlander when the Kurgan, I mean, Lambert's really going for Kurgan with that katana and he catches his throat and his head comes off and it's great. Well, it's the really naff way that he even kills... Mario Van Peebles at the end, where he kills Kane. Where he goes like, sort of cuts, and then he sort of stumbles back and his head falls off. Even that, it's just, oh, God, it's just crap. I couldn't watch 4 and 5. I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you did it.
I can do stuff like that.
Have you not got loved ones?
For this was that we were going to watch 1 to 3, and then I was going to keep 4 and 5 for You Stand Accused, where I would drink the rest of this vodka.
Well, do that.
There is not enough vodka to get me through 4 and 5. That was 2 and 3 are painful. I mean, painful. I'd rather cut off my dick with a rusty bread knife.
Posted the link. It's an animated feature length.
Yeah, the animated one. I am actually going to watch that.
Oh, you're going to put yourself there. I'm
going to watch the TV show at some point as well. So,
oh God.
So let's just dispel any notions that you have that I have any self-respect. I clearly just don't.
He just wants to do it to himself. That's it. It's game over. He's gonna put himself through that pain. Oh dear me.
Just
I
like
think it was more a case of seeing how bad it got.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, one thing that has happened though, because of the Highlander franchise, it has taught every other movie studio that whatever you do not make the last third of your movie so fucking final that you can't do something else later, because nobody else will take that risk anymore.
No, they're trying to make at the moment the new reboot. They're trying to make with Chad Stahelski. They're trying to sort out a story where they can make a franchise out of it. Where they say they know that it was so definite in the first film. They're trying to make a version now that leaves itself open to having more. But it's easy to do.
Didn't the 80s go? The 80s though went through this spate of making and please forgive me, semi-decent films. I'm thinking Cocoon. I'm thinking Short Circuit. There were these films that came out. And then they sort of shoehorned a sequel in, which was such inferior quality. You're like, why did they do that?
They were doing it all the way through the 90s as well. There is so many direct
but they're still doing
video.
it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Reboots and like prolonged time gaps between sequels. They're still doing it now.
I just don't get it.
Like, I mean, just today, there was a reboot announced for the years.
For the what?
The Wonder Years.
Oh, why would you want to reboot the Wonder Years?
I'm not going into that.
Yeah.
Right. We need to rank these. I'll go first.
Easy. One.
Well, there's one great one.
Yeah. 1, I don't care. 3, 2, because 1, 3, 2 for me in the fact that Highlander 2 is one of the worst things I've ever seen. My eyes have sat through some shit and watched some awfulness, and that is right up there. I'd rather sit and watch I'd rather watch 2 Girls, 1 Cup on repeat than watch that.
I would rather watch 1 Man, 1 Jar than that.
Yeah.
Well, put it this way, David. Would you rather watch Revenge of the Sith twice or Highlander 2 than Highlander 3?
Bring on Senator Palpatine and Hayden Wooden Christensen. Oh, let me bask in their dreadful ways. I am never, ever watching Highlander 2 and 3 again. All is forgiven with Revenge of the... I thought Revenge of the Sith was bad. This is way beyond awful. This is... Oh, dear me. Oh, anyway.
For an
1, 3, 2.
Unintentionally bad movie, this is possibly the worst movie of all time.
Highlander 2.
Got to be up there.
Yeah.
I mean, Ronan professionally sees a lot of bad movies, and you know,
but
some of them are good. He'll watch them because there's bad movies that are good.
Yeah.
This is one of those. This is a bad movie that's bad.
Yeah.
It's insult. As I say, for me, the thing is, it's not even the worst made movie or the worst acted movie, anything like that. There's moments I would say Sean Connery he's dialing it in, but he's still charming as hell, because he is charming as hell. But it's what it does to that first film. Now, I'll still go back and I'll watch that first film, and it's fantastic, but it's like all the sequels are just spitting at that first film. They're just wiping the script.
Not even a shadow.
Yeah.
I like Adrian Paul in the TV show. I like the characters in the TV show. I'd much rather watch the TV show than I would any of these sequel films. The first one's wonderful. The rest of them, there's just such a massive drop-off in quality. Yeah. I keep joking around saying it, but there should be only one.
Yeah, there should.
I'd rather watch the test card with fucking 40-year-old blunt scissors.
I'd rather watch the test card, sit and watch a test card, than watch that crud again. That would be more entertaining.
The test card has got more plot.
It's far too coherent, the test card, in comparison to Highlander 2. It serves a purpose. It makes sense. It is that bad. Right, 1, 3, 2 from me. Ant.
I've also gone 1, 3, 2. One, as I say, is like standout amongst them, isn't it? I don't think anybody would disagree there. Number 3 does have a bit of a plot, so that's why that's won second place. And as you say, number 2 does come as last on the basis that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it doesn't tie to the franchise really. Only in name, and there should only have been one. I'd agree with Martin.
Yeah, there should be only one. Mark.
For me, that's just number 1. I can't really say anything else about the others because I can't even categorize them one above quality over the other. I mean, the problem we've got is we're trying to rank a franchise. This isn't a fucking franchise. It's a fucking abomination. It's just wrong. Wrong. So 1, and then I refuse.
He's abdicating. No, not abdicating. What do you call it? He's
Abstaining.
Abstaining. Yeah.
I'm not even abstaining. I'm trying my hardest to pretend the films don't fucking exist. Simple as that.
That's still abstaining, though.
It's
still it.
Ronan, what's your ranking? Are you thinking along the similar lines?
Yeah, I mean, 1 is obviously the best, and then I would rank the other 2 as cheap vodka and cheap vodka.
Yeah.
I would say, number 1 is the best, then 3, then 2, and 3, similar to what Ant was saying, just for the vague effort at coherency. Yeah. That's it. I don't want to dwell on it much longer.
I think, joking aside, it's 1, 3, and 2. But where would you put 4 and 5 between 3 and 2?
Okay. Well, I did put myself through this, so I've gone.
You fool!
Number 1 is the outstanding. Then I went 3. Then 5, which again has a plot. It's it's not
5 of this. 5.
Yeah, there is 5. Believe it or not, there is a plot, and it's semi-coherent. Yeah, and
but
then
they get rid of the sword and use butterfly knives. They use butterfly knives in Highlander.
Of course.
You may as well use butter knives.
So then I went 2. And believe it or not, I did rank number 4 as worse. So we have.
Okay.
So the final one was 1, 3, 5, 2, 4.
I would go 1, 3, 4, 5, 2.
2 really is.
3, 4, 5, 2.
Are you with Mark there, Ronan?
Yeah.
2 really is that bad.
Yeah. No, nothing will ever be worse than 2. 2 was on a par with the Diana clone.
Oh, what's the Diana clone?
2 so massively insulting. Right, the normal ones I'd rate 1, 3, 2 simply because 3. Yeah, they copy the script of 1 and they do it worse. But there's a bit of effort. They get rid of the stupid outer space stuff, which is just so damn insulting. All that. If I was doing out of the 5, I'd probably still be 1, 3, 4, 5, 2. But then sometimes, if I was just looking at quality-wise, sometimes I'd put 5 at the bottom just because 5, once again, felt very insulting as well, with getting rid of the swords and fighting with butterfly knives in Highlander.
I would say, yes, to an extent, but also 5, I think, because it's a TV movie and to an extent it stayed in its lane.
But honestly, there's a certain enjoyment to 4 and 5 when they're coming off the back of the TV world.
Yeah.
I don't hate 4. I really don't. I quite enjoy 4 almost, compared to some of the others. It's probably the one that I can watch of the sequels, and it doesn't hurt me physically to watch it. It's not the best thing in the world, but it doesn't hurt me physically to watch. Watching 2 is a painful, painful endeavour. Watching 3, it was the first time that I'd watched 3. As I say, I'd always swore to myself I wouldn't do it. and it just felt like bad Chinese cinema at times. It's like, it's everything's there, all the ingredients are there, but it's had a really bad chef who's probably added salt to a sweet thing and just made it awful.
At least 5 compared to 2. 2 is still worse because at least 5 still feels like it's in the Highlander universe and part of the loose franchise. Where 2 doesn't feel like
idea that Anne pointed out.
In fact, 2 is that bad they could make a 6th film, set up a camera and film the fucking brick wall for 2 hours, and it would still be better than the second one. It would still be ranked higher.
It really is that bad.
2's genuinely one of those worst films that you'll ever see. In fact, at some point, we'll probably have to do some sort of ranking for the worst films that we've ever come across. And that's going to be in there really high.
Yeah,
it's really weird because it's almost like a porn parody, but without no sex.
I've seen a lot of really good porn parodies. That's an insult to porn parodies, I'll tell you now.
It's
goddamn insult. Brazzers would never make anything that bad.
Yeah.
No. And they probably have Johnny Sins or Kieran Lee as like the Highlander instead.
So we're all agreed. We love 1. Then,
Stand out, yeah.
Yeah, then it was 3,
What one's there?
5, 4, and then 2. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So on that note, we say, what's the final word on this, Martin? I'll leave it to you.
There should be only one!
Woo! Absolutely.
Agreed.
And on that, I will say thank you to Woody. Thank you to Munt. And commiserations to Ronan and Ant, who painfully sat through 4 and 5. Ooh, it was a slow week at work.
I
You're gonna watch that one.
Ronan, the bad movie Accuser, with you stand accused, coming back with 4 and 5. The actual program down that's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely.
You know, that's going to be funny and so.
And if you'd like to know who should have been in the Highlander remakes, you know, Richard Madden would be a great Conor McLeod.
The Castaway's not our Castaway fruit's not bad.
I think we did pretty good. Right, I will stop there. Thank you very much.